Hello, everybody. This is another video related to Swift 3. In this video, I'm going to cover uh, loops, repetitions, and arrays because they go together. It's going to be a very short video, but we will do an app that shows you how to use loops and arrays. Now, if we open the playground that you've done before, usually in the past you can define a variable and assign to it one value. Well, arrays is actually a list of variables, list of values. So in the way you do it, for example, you can say var numbers, and then you can say equal to, and then you can put values in it. You can say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so now I have my array. It contains all these elements, or this list contains all these elements. You can access individual element by an index. So each one of these has a number, an index number, which is, you use it like this. So you can say print numbers, and then you give the index. For example, if I want the first element in the array, it's index 0. And that would give you 1. Okay, if you want to put a value, and then the number is, so you can see it. All right. Okay, and what you will get, of course, we need bracket or we need the quotation. You will get actually that the number is 1, which is the first one. If you want the second element, it will start with 1, so that will be 2, and so forth. So you get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I say 6 here, I will actually get a number. All right, 9. But if I say 7, which is beyond the range of this array, your application will crash and you get an error saying that out of range. Okay, so the most that you can use is 6. All right, now you can use arrays has something called count. So if I say print array or numbers, dot count, that will give you actually how many elements in your array, and you can use that in your program so you don't exceed the range. So you have 7 elements, okay, starting from 0, and the maximum will be count less than 1, which is 6. Okay, so that's how you define array and then put some values in it. There are other ways that you can define empty arrays, but this is the most common one that we'll use. When we get to that one, I'll show you how to do that part. How do you go through an array? How do you list the values through an array? There is 2 ways that you can use it. There is something in programming called repetition loops. And the one I'm going to cover, there are 2 types. One of them is called for loop, and the other one is a while loop. The for loop is easy, and it's it has 2 formats. One format, you can say, for example, you say for I n, and you give it a range. For example, you can say from 0, because that, to, for example, 6. All right, and what do you want to do? You can loop through it like that. So this will repeat itself 6 times. So if you print right now I, this will print to you. Sorry, not 1. I, this will print from 0 to 6. Okay, well, notice that sounds good, because 0 to 6 is how many elements that I have in my array. 0 to 6. Okay, so you can use loops and array to list all the elements in an array, or go through an array. The other options, because we're using arrays, we don't know if it is, I'm just going to copy and paste this to show you. We get the same result by using, instead of using that number 6, we can use a range again, less than numbers dot count. Okay, Now, this is a range that is from 0 to that number, less than that number. So it's, remember, count is 7. It was 7 here. If you notice, it was 7. So it will go from 0 to 6. It's the same thing as doing it here, but this one would be better because you don't know how many elements sometimes you have in an array. It could be 10, 15, 100, thousands, whatever, right? So if you use the number count, you're always guaranteed that you don't go outside the range, okay? So this is one form of using a for loop. The other form that is more useful is that you don't care about how many elements you have in the array. You can say for, let's just use the k in, or for n in numbers, okay? And we use that a lot when we have a list of objects, okay? So this will go from 1 to the number of elements you have in an array. So if you have 7 numbers, or here you have 7 numbers, it's actually giving you the value of that number. So it's, in this case, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I print, and it actually giving you the value in that array. Okay, so you got the values, all right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just gonna put something so you can see it here. So you see the difference, okay? Then new way, and just put new way here. And then put slash. I'll just put the keyword news, not the keyword, so you can see the difference, okay? So you can say new 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So that is the two format of a for loop you use, which is going from using a range, and this range can be from 0 to a specific number, or you can actually use the less than sign, so you go to that number, less than that number that you specify. And we use the array count so we don't exceed the, we don't go beyond the range that you have in the array. All right, there's another way that is very common. You use the objects. You give me all the objects in that array, and that way you don't have to worry about printing it this way. Okay, I mean, just one more thing here while I'm doing it. If you want to access the element in the array, like we did in here, you can say, if you want to list them all, you can say print, again, numbers, and then you use the index, which is in this case I, because it goes from 0 to 6, and that would give you the same thing that you saw earlier, okay? So that will give you the elements in the array. These two are the same, except for that print thing, right? We don't need that print. I just put it so you can list it. So this one and this one are equivalent. You can use either one, but this one is more, you see this more common, and I like it better. All right, to show you this example, I'm going to define array with names in it. So we can say var names, and then you can say equal to an array of names, whatever names you want to use. Okay, and then you can do the same thing that you've done here. I'll just show you. You can copy and paste it, and then you'll see here, instead of numbers, I'm going to say n, or you can use n, the same thing. And instead of numbers, we're going to use here names, okay? And you'll see what you get now. You get actually the names in that array. Okay, so this object depends on the content of that array. It could be numbers, like you saw earlier, or it could be any type of object. In the app, we'll use colors to show you the difference. And the last thing I want to show you here is the while loop. The while loop is actually pretty simple. What you do, you have to start with the for loop. You define your integer, or the one that is going to repeat, inside your loop. With the while loop, you need to define it before. So you can say var I equal, or you can call it index if you want, var index equal to 0. Okay, and then you can say for index not for. Here we're going to use a while loop. We can say while index is less than a number, for example, 6 here, or 7. Okay, and we want to do something. We can do the same thing that we've done here. We use the index, but here you gotta be, with the while loop, you have to be careful, and I'll show you why you have to be careful. We will use this one here. Okay, copy this one here. Why do you have to, and then you use the index as your index to the array, like what we have in here. Why do you have to be careful? See, this thing is running forever. Okay, what's happening is that actually with the while loop, this condition is true. As long as this condition is true, you keep doing whatever is inside that while loop. The problem with that is that if you don't change the value inside this loop, this can go forever, and that's what we call infinite loop. So to fix that problem, you have to change the value of index inside the loop, and usually you do. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Index equal index plus 1. So you increment it by 1. If you want to increment by a different number, you can. All right, but that is how you use your you use a while loop. I can get stuck for a minute. Okay, now if you run it, that would work. Okay, and then I don't have, see it 7 times. It repeats that 7 times. And if you don't want to use 7, the best thing to do is that you say numbers dot one count. All right, and that would work. All right, so that is it. That's the end of this video. You can't see the value of these until you actually use them in an app. So in the next video, I'm gonna show you how we use these in an app. So to declare an array is a list of things, is to summarize a list of elements. These elements could be numbers, could be strings, it could be objects, which we'll talk about later on. It could be anything that you can represent in Swift. Okay, images, anything. You can, and then you can to usually an array has 2 things. An index is the address of that element in the array, and it starts from 0 to however elements you have. Okay, so if we have 7, it usually goes from 0 to 6. And to know that, to access it, you can just use the name of the array and then square brackets and then the index number that you wanted to retrieve from the array. And the array has something called count. Count give you the number that exists in the element. We use that a lot, so you don't have to worry about hard coding how many elements you have have in the array. You can be downloading things from the net. You can be reading things from a file. You don't know how many elements you have, so you can't hard code the value. And so what you do is that you use the array.count. To print it or to go through it, you usually use repetition. This is one way to do it, is that you use for loop. A for loop, you define an integer and a range. Okay, so you can say from 1, this I will go from 0 to 6, and then the range requires 3 dots. And here you do what the other part with the other one you can do is that here's how we use the count, and notice we use less than, because the count is 7, but you don't want to go to 7 because we go from 0 to 6, and that would be 7 elements. And then to access it, you just need simply print it out like this. And another form, here's another example. Another form of a for loop is that you use a list of objects. So you can say, give me everything in that array, the value, and store it in n. So the first time n will be 1, second time n will be 2, and 3, and 5, and 6, and 7. Okay, and then you just simply print them out. Okay. I give you another example, show you that this is string values, and n will be A, B, B, and C, 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 and then you just simply print them out. The last form of a repetition is a while loop. A while loop is a little bit more a little bit different than a for loop, but it's very powerful and it's flexible. You can do a lot more with it. And it has, you usually define something, a starting point, an index. And then you say, while the starting point is less than a certain condition, in this case, the number of elements in the array, I want to print out the number, the names, what's in that array using the index. And one key thing that you have to remember is that usually you need to make sure that you change this variable inside the loop. Otherwise, you get an infinite loop and your program gets stuck. All right, I told you this is going to be short, but it actually ran a little bit more than what I wanted. But I think if you understand what I explained, that should cover everything you need to know about repetition. All right, and then I will see you on the next video, and we will create something like a cool app to start with. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.